Sit down, Indian styles, you recite these hymns. See, lyrically, I'm Mario Andretti on.
Now you also blend your love of music with art and stuff as well.
Yeah, man.
Talk a little about your art.
Painting, like how Basquiat used to make music and do that. I find it's all like the layers when I'm in the studio working. Bass sounds, heavy sounds remind me of the effects of like dark browns and blacks. Like it's all about these thin layers where you wash and build and build and build. And I really visualize that way. And every painting's a story and every song should be a story. And they go hand in hand.
Yo, that's like synesthesia almost.
What's that?
You know what synesthesia?
No.
I think every artist goes through that. I see colors when I do music.
Okay, but you know what synesthesia? And I don't want to be
by
an idiot
definition. Nah, explain.
Okay.
Elaborate.
It's an illness where your brain ends or whatever are, I'm gonna sound like a real idiot describing this, but basically your sounds, colors, and feelings are all confused.
Oh, confused.
Confused to the
Okay.
point that certain words will trigger feelings or seeing sound.
I think that's a misdiagnosis. I think when you're an artist, all your senses, when you really become an artist, all your senses, instead of being confused, gel and work in cohesion. When you think about what you're doing, the best way to identify something is through your five senses. You know what I'm saying? So it's either you see it, you hear it, it reminds you of something you smell, or it reminds you of something you taste, or something that you've seen before. So when you work on a record, to identify it, to identify what your art is, automatically, you don't even, it isn't even something that you intentionally, I know at least for me, that you intentionally go out to, this needs to look blue. It doesn't work like that. It is blue.
Yeah.
Or this is fuchsia.
Yeah.
Or this is black. Or this is like bright red. And I, like on everything that I hold and honor, it just really pops in your head. Once it gets to like a certain point, I don't know if it works like that for you. It gets to a certain point and then you see it.
And I think there are certain songs that tell stories, and then there are songs that you hear and you don't know the story, but you create something like that's huge, you know, like creating that image. Like I don't know if that's where music videos came from, but sort of creating that image and that like giving people a visual, you know, because like artists want to give people what they see when they're writing the song.
But it's almost dangerous because sometimes, as a listener, artists can F up your vision. Because my vision of what your song is might not be what yours is. And I might watch your video and be like, I didn't want to have that feeling.
That wasn't what I was thinking.
That's not even what I was...
Yeah.
But a lot of times you're like, yeah, that's really dope.
No. Sometimes it's brilliant. But like that's one of the things I love about Paul Simon. He has so many stories, right? That it feels like he's lived 1,000 lives. Because you could never... I know he hasn't had 150 lovers in his life.
Same with Dylan.
Right, but these stories, you would believe Paul Simon had dated literally 1,000 women because of the different stories he tells of these people. And he'll tell stories from both vantage points, man and woman.
That's something I'm just learning
That's
how to
hard.
do, to step outside of it. So I was like, okay, I gotta write from me. I gotta write from my experiences, but to step outside and be like, just like a movie director, you may not have lived that, but you have to now tell that story of someone else's perspective.
And sometimes they'll say, a great artist will say certain words about a person, or a great director will make a film, or even a great television show where you feel the character's existence so much. Like I loved the show 6 Feet Under on HBO so much, because like you felt like, to the point that I feel like if I saw the actors from that show, I'd almost be like, because you're like a real person who was created. Like the whole story was there, everything that makes them a real person is there.
Yeah.
But that's what makes you guys artists. Like that's what makes it something that regular people can't really fully grasp. All we can do is really enjoy when it's done right. So tell us about a little bit about like your physical art, like that you do, like the actual work you do.
Just a quick story. I was standing in front of a Matisse painting, and I'd always drawn and done stuff like that. And I was standing in front of a Matisse painting one day, and the voice in my head said, "You can do that if you put in the work." And I turned to my girlfriend at the time, and she just goes, "I know." And at that point, it was like, okay, this is what I gotta do.
It was in your head?
It was the voice was in my head saying,
responded.
yeah, she predicted I was gonna meet Andre 3000 2 days before I met him, and before we were going to bed, she's like, you're gonna meet him. And I'm like, yeah, one day. And like, she's like, I feel like he'll play a role and he'll say some words to you. And I'm like, you know what? 2 days later, I'm at a dinner party and my friend says, come down to this restaurant. I roll down, and as soon as I walk in, him and I just go like this and see each other like that. And Yeah, yeah.
Did you have a conversation with him?
Yeah, we did. And it was at a time where I was hearing record labels tell me, your sound's not black enough, your sound's not white enough, and you need to do this, you need to sound more like this. And he was just like, he told me the story of Hey Ya, and he's like, I wrote it how many years before? Sat on it. He goes, when you're ahead of the curve, when you have this vision, the vision is so strong, sometimes just let it sit. Just let it sit, and it's like, it will talk when it needs to. It will, don't try to force it. If you're forcing it, nobody's feeling it, and you know it's good. He's like, just sit on it, wait.
Damn, this girl was like a mind reader and you let her go, huh?
Oh, brother, I'll sing a song about it probably tonight. So.
Okay, so then you saw the Matisse, and then how did it become art?
I had to do it. I saw the colors, and when you talk about seeing things, every time I'd start to see like a white surface, the lines start coming in and the colors, and I always heard about the painter's eye and thinking like, oh, I don't understand what that is, and that's where it started, and it's just grown.
So what kind of stuff do you do?
I've been doing, let me show you, this is the latest. I've been doing dioramas in tiny boxes. I don't know if they'll be able to see, but the latest series I've been working on is some pop art style stuff on Mike Tyson during the Kid Dynamite era. There's going to be some sculpture and paintings, and then my dad was a boxing guy, loved boxing, and so the bonding time with Pops is you sit down in front of the TV and you watch a fight, and there's those personas that transmit through radio, through television. I remember the first time I saw him step into the ring, you're just like, this guy's like nothing else, and I had this sense of sympathy because he was a kid in the situation with like monster strength, and you could just kind of see, I was able to interpret that people were misreading things about him, and the perception that started to come across, and yeah, just a connection. There's certain artists you don't know why you feel a connection to, but
so you would describe someone like Mike Tyson as an artist?
Yeah, I would. I really would. From like his style is art. The way he dressed differently than anybody else at the time. True. And he's some of the sweaters brothers wearing back in the 80s, like, yeah, like he was a true artist, and Ali and all those guys.
Mike Tyson, if you really look closely at him, on the surface when you see him, he just appears to be like a killer, like at that time.
Yeah.
But when you really look closely and you hear his story later, you realize that Mike Tyson was so able to be so dominant because he was so scared. Yeah. I mean, he was terrified. Like,
and I can honestly say I identify with it. When I'm up on stage and when I feel like I'm fighting, I don't ever want to I don't want to ever not come off strong or ever deliver what my gift is. And that's my fear. My fear is one day not being able to perform and make art and pursue my dream. So I fight for it and go crazy at it.
Should I just sit out or come off tell me find my way. Talk it out, now you cut my heart for the evening.